This is a tutorial on how to get started with Veriport from the point that you initially sign in and set up your account. So I'm inputting here the primary email address. If I have other PayPal accounts, I could input the email addresses below, but either way, you could always do that later. Now I'm going to choose how to import my bookkeeping accounts. I'm going to take the QuickBooks option and import the CSV. So here I am in QuickBooks. I'm going to export the QuickBooks account list to CSV. I can save this. So it exported to Excel, and then I could choose to save the file as CSV. Now I go back to Veriport, look for the file and import it. And this will take all my QuickBooks accounts and put them into Veriport. Now I have to set up the rules. So if I try to go to transactions as I did right there, it just redirects me to the rules. And basically here is where I map the QuickBooks accounts to their appropriate role in an accounting setting. So I try to describe each account type, and you basically should have a corresponding account to all these things in your books. So I'm just doing this process now, which only takes a couple minutes. Some of you may not have a reserves account, so I would recommend just creating an account in Veriport manually just to have a place for this in case you do end up getting reserves in the future. Alright, so I'm saving this. Now I'm going to go to transactions. And actually here I want to make a note to make sure you customize your download history to include the fields that Veriport tells you to. So here I'm just configuring my all activity PayPal CSV to get it ready for export. I've already configured a all activity CSV, so for me I just have to download the CSV, which can then be imported into Veriport. So let me save it to the hard drive. Now I'll go back to Veriport and browse for the file, and then this will import the transactions. And you'll see a note, the import has started, and it usually takes some time to import everything. It kind of does a batch of about 500 records at a time. So in the meantime, I'm going to go to my all activity CSV, and I'm going to calculate the starting balance just so I have something to input into Veriport. So I'm looking at the beginning balance column and just going to subtract out the entry on the line to figure out what was the beginning balance of the month. So now I have this figure. I am returning to Veriport. Manage PayPal accounts, edit the balance, set the date and amount. I can see that transactions have started to come in, and really what is key is the review section. this is where I can look at all the transactions and start to create rules so that as time goes on, the import process will be super quick, and I could create all kinds of fancy rules based on email address or name of the PayPal entry that could then be renamed in the case of, let's say, a charge always comes through as supplier XYZ and then a bunch of numbers after. So I want to say anything that starts with supplier XYZ, I want to rename to supplier XYZ so that it's consistent and uniform. So here you'll see me just setting up a whole bunch of different rules, either based on email or name. And then once I set this up, then that automatically classifies the transactions that apply. So you're basically building your database of rules. So that way in the future when you import transactions, the only ones that should be in the review section are ones that are abnormal, which you'll want to manually review anyway. I tried to make the rules as powerful as possible, which is why I did the contains, ends with, starts with. It should be able to handle most patterns. Now you can see the review number has gone down as I've added some rules. So I'm continuing to add a few. And we can see the import has finished. So once we're done adding these rules, we go on to the export into QuickBooks. I'm just adding a couple more. And we just go to transactions, export the desired date range. It will then generate an IIF file that you could then import into QuickBooks. Everything should reconcile and be categorized to the accounts that you desire.